Assalamu alaikum. Bonjour à tous. Hello, everyone. Mayor Holder, Mohamed Faki, Nav, Dr. Suleiman, for your incredible words. Young leaders from the YCCI, thank you for your words, and mostly thank you for your continued action and support for the London community. It was extremely important for me to be here today on this extremely difficult day for the families, for the Muslim community in London, but also for Muslims across Canada and indeed all Canadians. This is one of those days where, as I heard from the young people earlier, a number of people were saying, how could this happen in Canada? And racialized Canadians, Muslim Canadians, Canadians of diverse intersectionalities and backgrounds nodded and said, yeah, unfortunately, this can happen in Canada. Because even as, and Omar alluded to this, a lot of us pat ourselves on the back for not being as challenging as the United States is on a day-to-day basis. There's no reason for us to be complacent in Canada. There's no reason for us to turn our backs on the lived reality of millions of Canadians who live with microaggression and discrimination and systemic racism every single day. And on this day that we grieve, we also come together in commitment and resolve to make sure that tomorrow and next year and all the days in the future are also better. So I'm glad to be here today, accompanied by members of our Liberal team who commit themselves every single day to fighting for you, to fighting for London, to making it a better world. Omar, Salma, Ariel, and Peter. We are gathered to honor the victims of this horrible tragedy. The lives of 3 generations of Afzaal family were taken by a brutal, cowardly, and brazen act of terrorist violence. Talat, Salman, Madia, and Yumna, we remember them. Yumna was a student here at the Oak Ridge Secondary School. Some of you were her classmates, and I know that you miss her deeply. Today, of course, we also think of Faiz, who turned 10 this year. We talked about him earlier when I had the opportunity to speak with family members, and I feel incredibly privileged and touched to have been able to hear his words in a note on this extremely difficult day. There is no word to describe the courage of this young boy whose life has been changed forever, but I know that even through unimaginable loss and grief, he will grow to be extraordinarily strong because of the incredible love this community and indeed all of Canada has for him. Les valeurs fondamentales de paix,
The fundamental values of peace, compassion, and charity are at the very heart of Islam. They are also the heart of the community here in London. These values are important to the Afzaal family. They have always been generous with those near them.
Went out for an evening walk, like so many of us do on warm Sundays. They were targeted because of their faith and because of their culture. This killing was no accident. It was a terrorist attack motivated by hatred. Islamophobia is real. I've heard from community members across the country. I just had the opportunity to meet with members of the Youth Coalition Combating Islamophobia. It is unacceptable that people feel unsafe in their place of worship or at work, or in this case, going for a walk as a family. People should be free to wear their traditional clothes and articles of faith without fear. Of course, even the Prime Minister saying that doesn't make it so, does it? So there's nothing I can say here today that'll remove that fear. So Isa and Miriam spoke very strongly about the need for action and not just words. Yes, absolutely. We need to be there to clearly say that this is unacceptable, that this is wrong, that Canada is a place of openness and respect, that it's always defined us despite our shortcomings and our failures. And we need to commit ourselves verbally to do more every single day, but we also need to act. And that's why it is such a strong message to see so many of you out here today for this commemoration, this walk. Why so many of you are continuing to demand that governments, municipal, provincial, federal, continue to step up with more action. And yes, there is much more to do, but we have taken action, and we will continue to. Our government invested in the launch of a new anti-racism strategy and a national action plan to combat hate, which includes funding to the tune of millions of dollars, grassroots organizations, many of them Muslim, focused on fighting racism, intolerance, Islamophobia in communities across the country. We're also launching a process to appoint Canada's very first special representative on combating Islamophobia. And we're establishing an expert panel to advise on how to have a digital society that would create safe and respectful places online while promoting Canada's freedom of expression and combating hateful content online. And that's hugely important. Because, yes, there are, when I think of Quebec City and London a year ago, there are a couple of young men who will hopefully never again see the light of day from inside their prison cells. But they didn't act alone. They were encouraged. They were taught to hate through what they saw online, what they heard, messages designed to polarize, to frighten, to shape a narrative of chaos and hate within communities where the vast, vast majority of Canadians are open and respectful and loving. For generations, people of every imaginable background have come here, built communities, and made this country so much better and richer than it ever could have imagined to be. That is the story of Canada, a place where everyone brings their identity, their cultures, their language, their depth and history, and add it to Canada. Make richer the lives of their neighbors, of their communities, with everything they bring. And we do that here in Canada better than just about any other country in the world. Where a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, no matter what your background or your story. But as Omar pointed out, even in Canada, even in New Zealand, even in places that do diversity well, where people are good and respectful and nice to one another, it doesn't take much. It takes one person. And all of us are left wondering what we can do. What we can do not just to protect each other, but to be there for each other and include each other and reach out to say, we are all with you. We are all Muslims in Canada. We are all Afzaal family members in Canada. And to stand strongly against those for whom us celebrating diversity, welcoming in differences, is somehow a threat or undermines what Canada is. That narrative is strong out there. But so is the counter-narrative. So are all of you. So are all of us. I want to pause for a moment to do something that might seem on the face of it slightly unpopular, given the passionate speeches we heard earlier. I want to pause in a defense of words. Words matter. And yes, the words by politicians offering thoughts and prayers after a grief matter a little bit. The politicians' actions matter more, but words continue to matter. Words of comfort and solace offered to grieving families. Words of support. Words of people saying, not in the Canada we want to build. Just as negative words matter. Twisted rants on the internet and in social media filled with misinformation, disinformation designed to undermine people's confidence in their neighbors, in their society, designed to turn us one against the other. Those are words. And they can lead to terrible, terrible consequences, as we all know all too well. But the words that counter that hatred, words of presence, of comfort, words of facts fighting disinformation, words to a coworker, as Ed said, that says something unthinkingly harmful. Words heard around the dinner table that need to be responded to with stronger words. We are in a society, we are a world that communicates with words. And each of us wields the responsibility to speak up when we hear something that betrays a misunderstanding of the core values and the core direction that Canada needs to take of openness, respect. And can I pause for a second saying, let's not ask for tolerance. There are places in the world where a little tolerance would go a long way, but can we get beyond that in Canada? There's not a religion in the world that tells us to tolerate your neighbor. Think about it. I tolerate you. That means I accept you have the right to live, but just don't get too much in my face or come date my daughter. Tolerate. We need to talk about acceptance. We need to talk about love. We need to talk about friendship and understanding. So let's go beyond tolerance. And words matter because they lead to actions. Actions like all of you mobilizing today. Actions like what these young people are doing. Shaking up the system and challenging They're leaders with, yes, very strong words that do matter. And then actions matter. All of you coming here. All of you choosing to get out and make your voices heard and show with actions that you're behind that. And yes, Miriam, voting matters. And we just came through an Ontario election where the voter turnout was lower than it's been in a long time. And that matters. Because that's where the action by individual Canadians is not actually having the impact that it needs to. Because too many are choosing not to act. We have one of the most incredible countries in the world, but it didn't happen by accident, and it will not continue without effort. And for all I can do as Prime Minister, I can't do it alone. It takes Canadians, millions upon millions of Canadians making a choice to step up as allies, as friends, as community members, saying, no, we are going to speak up and stand up for a better today and a better tomorrow. La tragédie de l'année passée nous a tous choqués.
Last year's tragedy shocked us all. It has affected us all. 1 year later, the memories of Salman, Madia, Yumna, and Talab continue to be remembered.
And I want you to know that Canadians everywhere are with you, because Islamophobia is not simply an attack on Muslims, it's an attack on all Canadians. And over the past few years, through this pandemic and now, we've seen a rise in Islamophobia, in anti-Semitism, in anti-Asian hatred, in anti-Black racism, in intolerance and hatred all throughout our world and our society. And it takes all of us to stand up and say to each other, you are not alone, and together we will find our way forward. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. May peace and blessing be upon you.